muku maka panina o mahoi hope, maka vehena I ka apopo no hoi, o ikua, aloha, aloha nui mai kākou. Welcome friends and relatives from around this island that we call Earth. I greet you from our lands here on the slopes of Mauna Kea and Mauna Loa, here on the island of Hawaiʻi, where the two mountains meet, standing behind me. Some of you may recognize this this mountain as our special Mauna Wakea that we've been fighting so hard to protect and preserve. We also greet you this morning as we just finished ceremony to greet the rising of our moon, of our Muku moon, which is our last moon in our third 10-day week of Ho'emi, of our decreasing week. In the last day of this beautiful lunar month of Mahoi Hope. Such an auspicious time and a great time to be having these conversations, because we'll have these conversations and tomorrow ushers in the time of a new va, of a new month. So we have these conversations today so that we can take action tomorrow. So mahalo, much greetings to each and every one of you. We're here today to have a kuka kami'ilio, a conversation, a talk story, much in the way we do with our elders in circles, basically about the state of our indigenous language. What are we doing to preserve and revitalize our languages, to bring them back to the language of the land that our ancestors enjoyed, and so that we can prepare the land for those who have yet to come. We're here to call out both successes and challenges so that we can learn from each other and inform the next steps that we take. Perhaps the next step I take will be informed by a step that one of you took, a step in the right direction or even a step in the wrong direction, so I can know to adjust my course. That is the learning and the sharing that we hope to get and learn from each other today, so that we can advance our native tongues, our native languages in a good way. So today we have two main sections and one subsection of our gathering. But before we do, we'd like to ask everyone to rename yourselves. If you're Russian speaking or Spanish speaking and would prefer to be in those breakout rooms, please put RU or RUS in front of your name. And for those in Spanish, SP. This will help our Menehune crew, our Zoom elves, to help break us up into our various breakout groups after this. And to do that, what you'll do is you'll go to the participants list and you'll find your name. And as you hover your mouse over your name, there'll be two buttons, one that says mute and one that says more. You go under more, you'll have rename. Press in there, and then that's where you can rename yourself with RUS or SP in front of it. For those that want to rename yourselves to English, you can do ENG or EN. However, those that do not have a name, when we do breakout rooms, will automatically be put into or stay in the main room for the English breakout session. So the three sections of this agenda, the three sections of what we will be doing is, the first thing we'll be doing is we're going to be sharing some awesome panelists and their experiences in language revitalization in their own tongues, in their own places, and we'll hear from them and learn some of their challenges and learn some of their successes. After which we'll go into our breakout rooms, and in the breakout rooms, we'll further the discussions, but each of us as participants will have the opportunity to share some of our stories and some of our learnings and some of our successes to contribute to the greater talk story. And when that is done, we'll get a chance to come back and hear a little bit about some of our high-level findings, maybe the top challenges and top successes, so that we can learn from each other, followed by which we'll have a closing and some next steps. Before we get on with our first part of the panel, we'd like to do some mala mahalavai, some meeting rules or housekeeping. Some people refer to them as. This meeting is being recorded, as you may have saw. For those that are not wishing to be seen, please simply turn off your cameras. And if you'd also not wish to be heard vocally, you can still communicate and you can still participate by typing your comments and your thoughts into the chat. Our chat will definitely be monitored. So both the meeting will be recorded and the chats will be recorded as well. And then the findings from this session, if you may wonder why we're doing this, is so that we can have a record of our sharing, but also so that we can reshare some of the knowledge that we've gained and we've learned during this session in a future edition of our quarterly Culture Survival Quarterly magazine that has quite the far reach. So with all of that housekeeping going on, I'd like to take the time to be able to share a little bit of our wonderful panelists that have joined us today. So our first is Vyacheslav, and he is from the Yukagir people, and some of the first peoples in Russia. And he's the first person to receive the Paul K. Feyerabend Foundation Award. He's a teacher, and he worked as a teacher and later as the director of the Teki Odulok Yukagir National School in the village of Nelemnoye. Now, I must say that I apologize if I mispronounce any of these beautiful native names and words, and the fault is all mine, not that of my ancestors. So we welcome Vyacheslav to the conversation today. Next, we have Vanessa Farrelly from the Perdame Southern Arente peoples, and she's employed by the Bachelor Institute of Indigenous Tertiary Education as a research officer with the Center for Australian Languages and Linguistics. I love that their acronym is CALL. She's also a master's research student within the Bachelor Institute postgraduate program. And she has experience coordinating language revival programs and working with elders and the community, really the on the ground type of pilina or connections that are so valuable. And next we have Angela Butler of the Yak people, and she is from the Raven clan, and I love this first sentence, starting off that she's been happy to raise her 3 children in their ancestral land. That is such a privilege, especially in today's day and age, to be able to be and live and be connected. And in our traditions, we put the most important things first. And with her putting her children, who are our future elders, first, it does say a lot. She has a master's of public administration from Kent State University and has been working for her native community since 2008. First with the native village of Yak, then Yak Corporation, and currently with the Native Conservancy. Champion, a warrior. Welcome, Angela. And next we have Mayu Ali. I'm not sure he's joined our conversation yet. As we all know, the beauty of ruling the technology of our day is that we can all be here. And sometimes the bane of the technology of the day is that we don't always have the greatest internet connection. So at last check, he was resolving some issues and will be joining us shortly and joining the conversation in progress. But he is the author of Exodus, Between Genocide and Me. He's a Rohingya poet, a human rights activist and humanitarian worker. Many op-eds that he has written for some of our large publications, New York Times, Washington Post, CNN, Al Jazeera, and so on and so forth. He's also the co-founder and editor at Art Garden Rohingya. And currently his friends and he are doing a project to revive and preserve the Rohingya language and culture. Welcome, Mayu. All right, technical glitch there. So now we'd like to start jumping into our conversation and hear a little bit more of our panelists. So we'll start in the same order that we did the introductions. First we'll go with Vyacheslav, then Vanessa, then Angela, then Mayu if he's on at the time. And the first question is, basically, please share with us your story. What is your story of language? How did you learn your journey? Are you a first language speaker, or as we call it, mana leo, born into the language, or the language come to you later in life? And what drew you to preserving the language of your ancestors? So if we could start with that question, and first off is Vyacheslav.
Здравствуйте, уважаемые друзья. Меня хорошо слышно? Так, Вообще, юкагирский язык, он находится в очень сложном положении. Вот ситуация в моей семье очень хорошо отражает ситуацию, который был статус у нашего языка. Мой дедушка, когда вот первые его дети родились в 30-х годах, эти дети, они хорошо знали юкагирский язык. Мой отец, который уже появился в 40-х годах, дед в это время уже поменял свое отношение к родному языку и сказал: если вы хотите стать человеком, то есть занять какое-то положение в обществе, вам надо выучить русский язык. И поэтому так получилось, что уже младшие мои тети и дяди, они родной язык не знали. Хотя дедушка, бабушка родной язык знали, но вот уже само отношение внутри коллектива, внутри семьи, та ситуация, которая сложилась в обществе, оно привело к тому, что мои уже родители не знали родного языка. Однако вот когда для меня большое изменение произошло, когда я переехал в город учиться. И вот в университете, когда я учился, вот тогда я вдруг осознал, что не нужно знать свой родной язык. И тогда вот я как раз начал учить свой язык. Было очень сложно, потому что моя старшая тетя, она меня всегда ругала, говорила, что у меня язык деревянный, я не могу говорить так правильно, как нужно. Тем не менее, это был очень большой такой, нам удалось преодолеть эти сложности. И получилось очень интересно, то есть я свой родной язык выучил не в своем родном селе, а обучаясь в университете фактически по книгам. Когда я вернулся уже в поселок, у меня уже было другое сознание, я вдруг осознал, что у нас совершенно критическая ситуация. Большинство, я уже приехал учителем, стал учителем, и вот работая в школе, я вдруг увидел о том, что наши дети стесняются признавать себя юкагирами, и это было очень сложно. И поэтому мы решили тогда ввести в обучение юкагирский язык. Вначале он пошел у нас как факультатив. Начало 90-х годов для России это был период реформ, больших, в том числе политических реформ, когда у нас была демократия. И тогда вот у нас начался процесс возрождения нашего народа, возрождения нашего этнического самосознания. И в 1993 году я возглавил школу, стал директором школы, и преобразовали свою школу в национальную, и мы приняли учебный план, в котором был включены юкагирский язык, юкагирская культура, история. Вот самое интересное, что я поступил тогда очень недемократично, потому что когда я провел анкетирование и беседы со своими родителями, всех родителей опросил, из 26 родителей 25 родителей сказали, что не надо учить юкагирский язык, потому что он уже бесполезный, он уже не играет никакой роли, он не нужен, бесполезный для наших детей, что давайте лучше хорошо учить русский язык и математику, чтобы дети могли поступать куда-то в университет и так далее. Они, тем более, каждый раз приводили пример меня, говорили: вот ты же хорошо учился, поэтому ты смог поступить, а тебе юкагирский не помогал в том, что ты поступил в университет. Но я, тем не менее, тогда пошел против этого мнения, и мы тогда организовали национальную школу, и за 3 года мы изменили всю ситуацию. Оказалось, что для наших детей изучение родного языка, изучение своей истории, культуры, она стала основой их успеха в жизни. У нас практически начал подниматься уровень образования по всем предметам, хотя у нас школа, почти половина предметов была именно ориентирована на родной язык. Тем не менее, уровень преподавания и по физике, и по математике, и по другим предметам он начал подниматься, потому что отношение детей изменилось. И знание родного языка самоосознание себя как юкагира, оно помогло нашим детям также очень хорошо учиться в других местах. Вот я просто скажу, что из числа вот этих учеников как раз нашей уже школы вышло 7 ученых на сегодняшний момент, имеющих кандидатские степени кандидатов наук и так далее. Это вот у нас получилось так, что у нас выросло целое поколение ученых, которые объединили в себе традиционные знания и академические знания. И благодаря этому на сегодняшний момент мы уже имеем очень хорошие такие результаты, но об этом мы будем говорить уже потом. Но самое главное, оказалось, что знание родного языка, оно помогает адаптироваться в большом обществе, чувствовать себя более в нем уверенно. Тем более, что для них это было очень важно, для каждого из них. Вот такая история.
Mahalo nui Slava. Great learnings, great teachings, and we see so many connections with many of our native languages. So next, Vanessa, would you please share with us your journey?
Hi, could I share the screen for a PowerPoint?
You certainly can.
Yeah, so Wada Rangaramara, Reitna Nokanama, Vanessa Farrelly, Yanga Quara Pradama and Dakararanya, Murakuda Nanala, Rilam Arandamabaka, Norna Anjarama, Etlerichika Rilla, and Guyamaba, Yarakala Bar, Rilla and Guyamaba Yadanama. So I said, hello, you mob good. My name is Vanessa Farrelly. I'm a Pradam Southern Aranda girl. And this land that I'm speaking to you from will always belong to the Aranda people. And we want you to think about the elders who have passed away and the elders who are still with us. Pradam or Southern Aranda, it's an Indigenous Australian language. And I'm not sure you can see this little map. So we're the desert people from right in the centre of Australia. And if you've heard about Ayers Rock or Uluru, we're about 5 hours away from there. Just south of Alice Springs, our language. I guess my story coming into it, I didn't grow up around Alice Springs. I grew up on the east coast of Australia and then came back to Alice Springs later in life when I was about 19. And that was the first time that I heard my language. This is my nana and our Pradam queen, we call her. Christabel Swan. I heard her speak language for the first time. And it was just so beautiful and so amazing for me. And I knew that I really wanted to, be a part of our language again. And Pradam or Southern Aranda, it's a severely endangered language. So there's only about 10 fluent speakers still with us and they're all elderly. But Alice Springs also has a lot of really strong Aboriginal languages. So we're Southern Aranda, but there's Western Aranda, Eastern Aranda, and all other kinds of desert languages, it's one of the strongest places for Aboriginal languages in all of Australia. But our small little language group, Pradam, is struggling because we were hit from colonisation first before the other languages in Central Australia. But so basically I decided to move back to Alice Springs so I could be with Nana Chrissy and just learn as much from her as possible. And I used to follow her everywhere, be with her everywhere, constantly asking her, oh, how do you say this in Pradam? How do you say this in Pradam? And she would get really impatient with me and and she'd sometimes get frustrated just when I was trying to talk language and say, just talk English. But I was really hungry to learn my language. Whereas a lot of people, even though she was a fluent speaker, a lot of our other family are all what you call silent speakers. So they understand every single word of what she says, but can't speak it. And and I guess I come from never hearing it at all and just being blown away with the magic of it, that yeah, I had no shame to just say it wrong, really wrong, until I said it right. Yeah, and so I started volunteering and going with her to Bachelor Institute, and she was recording the language with the linguist with the small grant they got. And I would just sit there and just follow her around like a shadow. And then eventually the linguist would give me more and more to do. And then, yeah, one of the linguists got like quite a big grant from a philanthropist on the east coast of Australia. And then just before that happened, that linguist got really sick, unfortunately. And so we were left with the money, but no one to lead the program, the Put-On program. And then me and my auntie got together and said, you know, we have this money, why don't we just do something as a family? And so we held a family meeting, a barbecue at my auntie's place, and all the different family groups came along. And yeah, and that was really the start. And we started off with on-country learning camps. So we'd go back to our homeland, which is called Putaroranga. So yeah, this is a photo of Malanga, which is 3 Mile, which is one of the permanent waterholes on the Finke River. So yeah, the Finke River, but Puran people, we call it the Lurabinda, which is the salty river in our language, and it's the oldest one. It's the oldest river in the world, and most of the time it's dry because it's desert, and it's ephemeral, so it only runs once or twice a year, or maybe once every 2 years or 3 years after big rains. But there are some spots along the Finke River that are permanent water holes, so they always have water in it. And so, yeah, this is one of those places that we always take the kids and sit down and learn language. And then we started off with our on-country learning camps. And then, but yeah, we were realizing it was so much work to go to bring, 60 family members out bush. And the kids weren't learning that much language in the camps. And that was when me and Nana Chrissy, Nana Kathy, Nana Chrissy's younger sister, my Nana's younger sister, got invited to New York by the Global Indigenous Language Caucus by Richard, who's here today, and Hawaiʻi. And it was really crazy. It was just like an email that got sent out. And I'm pretty sure everyone thought it was spam because of the way that Yuchi is written. People just thought it was just like a spam email, and I don't think many people replied to it. But I replied to it and somehow got invited to New York with an amazing opportunity to learn about Master Apprentice programs, which is a program to rapidly create new speakers of endangered Indigenous languages, which is exactly the position that our language was in. And yeah, they just blew my mind with just the focus on immersion and creating fluency and talking in full sentences and not translating into English. And that's when my Puram language ability just went to the next level. Even on that trip, me and Nana Kathy were just talking to each other in Puram so much more. And it really changed everything for me and our program, and I'm so grateful for them. And then we took it back home to our apprentices, to our community, and asked a bunch of young people, do you want to be a part of this program? And they agreed. And it was, but we had a bit of a slow uptake, with dedication. But then what we found was that it was actually my auntie generation, the silent speaker generation, the children of the fluent speakers who knew every word of language but weren't able to talk it. They were the ones who got more involved with this Master Apprentice program, when you usually think of it as an elder and a young person. But it was actually the middle-aged adult generation who really got involved and thrived. And it kind of became a way for them to turn their silent speaker, command of the language into active speaking, like a safe place for them. Yeah, it's been really amazing. I'll just show you a photo. Oh yeah, so this is a photo of me and Nana Kathy in New York with the Global Indigenous Language Caucus and all the other amazing First Nations peoples who was there. And yeah, and this is a pictures of our Master Apprentice sessions. So that's Nana Chrissy, our elder, and my Auntie Oriel and Auntie Leanne. So they're silent speakers. And then we've also got my cousin, who is also a silent speaker. Her dad is a fluent speaker. And Shania, my niece. And so, yeah, we're like four generations of us. My nana, aunties, cousin, and nieces of women together. And yeah, and now we go to Bachelor every single day for 3.5 hours as a part of our Master Apprentice program. And yeah, it's been such an amazing journey. Yeah. I'll just stop saying this.
Mahalo nui, Vanessa. That was truly inspiring, and mahalo nui. Much gratitude for bringing your elders and family into the room with us too. Next up, we have Angela. Angela, would you share your story with us, please?
Absolutely. Lahi Shu, Angela Butler, Aduch De'e, Sion Alice, Adut De'e, Sichushia Dolly, Adut De'e, Sichushia Sion Alice, Adut De'e, Dachun Ka'ahu, Cordovet Kla, Dachun Yu Tetya et Kuhu, and Awa Da. So, hello, my name is Angela Butler. My mother's name was Alice, and my grandmother's name was Dolly, and her mother's name was Alice. And I live in Cordova, the land of the EAC. And the EAC live in the land of the salmon. So thank you for inviting me to participate today. My language journey began in 2010. Well, I guess first I should say that EAC is the most endangered language in Alaska. Our last native-born speaker passed away in 2008. And so our language, well, our people were hit pretty hard from colonization, as I think with, many people. But in the 60s, there was a linguist named Dr. Michael Krauss, and he would come to Cordova. He recognized the importance of capturing our language. And so he had been coming to Cordova to collect data from his native informants and be able to create a dictionary and to learn the language himself. And then there was a 12-year-old boy in France who was kind of a language prodigy, and he learned about the EAC people and the endangered status of our language. And he learned EAC from compact discs and from a dictionary that was written in the way that the older style linguist dictionaries are, with the characters, and then he also had to learn English because he wanted to help teach our people. And so basically I started my language journey in 2010, learning from a Frenchman and a linguist from the University of Alaska Fairbanks. We're participating in language summer camps and monthly Zoom sessions and things of that nature. So it was been a slow start, and all of our learning opportunities have been funding based. And so sometimes we would have these opportunities and then sometimes they would kind of dry up. And I just have felt kind of a burden on my heart to be a warrior for our language and our culture and our people. And sometimes it's really hard and sometimes it's really frustrating, but I've just felt like that's what I needed to do. So our current status is that we do not have fluent EAC speakers. And although I have learned at every opportunity, as have a handful of others, we're still at more of an elementary kind of a level of language learner. I do teach a super elementary level of language weekly here in town. And I think that, you know, we need more money to be able to get Native people fluent in our language. That's kind of the goal. And that's what I'm hoping for. And that's my language story. So thank you so much.
Mahalo nui, Angela, for sharing. You know, it's so inspiring that we each see the story of ourselves and our peoples in each of your stories at the different phases, at the different intersects, and in the different learnings, and so much we can learn from each other. One of the common threads that was so prevalent in each of what you folks have shared and your bios as well is the connection of language to land, the connection to place, the relevance of language and land, and the learnings wherein, you know, a lot of people say, like here in Hawaii, we say if you want to get stronger in your Japanese roots, you can go back to Japan. If you want, you know, learn more of your English roots and language, you can go back to England, and so on and so forth. But we're here, we're in our lands, and we have that connection. And this is where our language makes the most sense, is most relevant. So the next question that we'd like to start off, and we'll start off again in the same honor with Slava, is how is your language connected to land and place? And is that connection still strong? If you could throw in a few examples, that would be super helpful. So how's your language connected to the land and place? And is that connection still strong today? Slava?
Конечно, язык, он может функционировать только там, где живут сами представители народа. Это очень важно. Например, вот в больших городах и так далее мы проводим много мероприятий и так далее, но язык там выполняет только функцию, скорее, больше для мероприятий, там, короткого общения. Живое же общение языка может быть только в местах нашего традиционного проживания. Поэтому мы и говорим, что язык в первую очередь связан с землей. Во-вторых, это отражается в том, где функционирует наш язык. В основном язык сохраняется у тех, кто занимается традиционными видами хозяйства. Это оленеводы, охотники, рыбаки, потому что большая часть всей терминологии, которые даже если они говорят на русском языке, большая часть терминологии и элементов даже культуры и тех, которые они используют в этом занятии, оно основано на традиционных знаниях. И почти все термины, они также связаны с языком. И это показывает как раз взаимосвязь языка со своей землей. В-третьих, ученые все признают, говорят о маркерах этнического самосознания. В последние годы очень многие такие факторы, они очень размылись и стали в основном больше, вот эти вот факторы самосознания стали вот зависеть именно от психологии человека, от самосознания человека. И вот тут вот как раз самосознание человека очень сильно, оказывается, вот у нас привязано к местам опять проживания наших народов. Когда вот мы говорим юкагиры, то у нас сразу вот люди, например, в Якутске, в любых других местах, в Москве или еще в каких-то местах, они спрашивают, вы тогда или Нелемная, или Андрюшкина. То есть есть известно два крупных таких поселений, где проживают юкагиры, тундренные они в Андрюшкино, лесные они в Нелемном, и сразу задается такой вопрос. И самое интересное, вот у нас эти поселки, они на самом деле многоэтничны, там проживают разные народы. Но когда они приезжают в другие места и начинают рассказывать о своем поселке, то их уже идентифицируют с нашим народом, вне зависимости. Это может быть русский, это может быть якут, но все знают, что он приехал с юкагирского села, и он уже идентифицируется. То есть это вот именно с юкагирами, то есть это очень сильная связь этническая, то есть самого народа и с местами, где он проживает. И оно вот очень тесно связано. Точно так же, как мы понимаем, что Австралия – это место проживания наших австралийских собратьев. В Новой Зеландии проживают маори. И вот, то есть вот это вот очень тесно связано. Вот эта вот связь земли и языка.
Mahalo nui, Slava. Next, we want to pose the same question to you, Vanessa.
Yeah, I was trying to. Yeah, so for us, yeah, for Aboriginal people, I guess language comes from the land. Everything comes from our country, which we call Pmura. And this is just a little diagram that we did to like represent how us Puram people view the connection. And it says, Ingitcha Nona Nama Nona Kana, which means our language is who we are. And then in the middle, we have Undanguna, which is our identity. And then we have Mura, which is country, Ngitya, language, Rilla Ngaraparamaba, our old people or ancestors, and Mbarnarinja, which is our kinship system. And then, yeah, we also have Ndapa, dance, Pindalama art, Murna Busharinya, our bush foods that grow on country, Aratha, our bush medicines and healing that comes from the land, and Ilalinja, our song, and Al Yamava, our family. And so, yeah, our language is, I guess, if you view language as the voice of the land, our voice of the land. And for us, our ancestors and our old people stay in country and reside in country. And whenever we go out to country, like we'll sing out to them in language, and we teach the kids how to sing out to them too. And introduce themselves, say who they are in Puram, and just say, yeah, we're just here visiting you mob. And yeah, I guess country is our ancestors. And so when we can talk our language, we can talk to the country and in the language that they understand, because they wouldn't understand English. That's not the language that came from that land. That was an introduced language. And we tell the kids all the time, we explain to them that, that your language is the language that come from this land, and you're the, first people of this land, and that's such an honor. And then this other language that we always talk come from overseas. Yeah, but yeah, country for Aboriginal people, I guess, is everything, and especially our elder Nana Chrissy, she's always, whenever we do our Master Apprentice sessions in Alice Springs, and Nana Chrissy's always like, I want to go out bush, I want to go to my home, Purderoranga, all the time. Yeah, I guess it's just a part of who we are. And even though when we do it in town, Alice Springs, where most Puram people live at the moment on Eastern Aranda country or Central Aranda country, yeah, we still know that we have to go out bush to teach our language. And here's a picture of our kids. This year we've taken them on a couple of on-country trips out bush. And yeah, when we go out bush, that's them at the bottom collecting bush medicine, which is aratha. And so you boil that up in water, and then the kids take a bath in it, or you can pour it on wounds. And then, yeah, the kids, we do painting with them out bush, teach them how to paint with the dot paintings. And then, yeah, this wet season, the Fink River ran twice, which was really amazing. We had like a huge wet season. And so that was the kids enjoying swimming in the river around Easter time, and also collecting frogs. They were like throwing the frogs around like little balls, and we were telling them, no, you'll get warts if you touch the frogs. And then also the making traditional jewelry. So we have these inunda seeds, and then we get hot wire and heat it up in the fire and then burn holes in the inunda seeds to make jewelry like earrings and necklaces and bracelets. So yeah, I guess language is so much more than just words. It's a whole culture and it's a place and it's an identity and belonging, as you would all know.
Mahalo nui. Love, love, love seeing the pictures of especially the keiki, the kids connecting to the aina. Thank you so much. Angela, would you take us home with your sharing about language and its connection to your land,
Yes,
especially as you're living on your land?
And Vanessa, I love your pictures. They're awesome. Our language is definitely connected to the land. Our people have lived in this small space, relatively small compared to the rest of the world, for 3,000 years. And so like our word for fish, tetya, is specifically means Copper River red salmon. And so if you were going to talk about a different kind of fish, it would have a different name besides fish. And our word for picking specifically means picking berries. And like the words for our months of the year, our calendar, well, I mean, if you could put it in a calendar year, there's sort of like, you know, first there's this, then there's this, right? We didn't have like traditional Julian calendars, but you know, there's the time for when the hooligan run, which are these little, maybe sardine-like oily fish that were used for, the oil was used for heat and things like that. And then there's the month where it rains, which, I mean, to be honest, here it rains year round, but where it rains extra and things like that. But I think that since I'm more of a elementary level speaker, that's probably all I've got to say about that. But we're definitely connected to our land, and also really more specifically in reference to a subsistence lifestyle, you know, the hunting seasons, the fishing seasons. And like there's a classifier in all the words that refer to things that come from the spruce tree. So anyway, yeah, we're definitely connected to our land.
Mahalo nui, Angela. And you know, that from what you shared, that's so much of the beauty too, is learning and unlocking the secrets of our languages and then how they relate to the land. So mahalo nui for sharing. And mahalo to each of our panelists, Slava, Vanessa, and Angela, for all the wise words and the great sharing and starting off the discussion, the greater discussion that we're about to have. So we will be being zoomed out into these different breakout rooms, and where we can continue the discussions. These will also be recorded and notes will be taken. And as we connect in these breakout rooms, we'd like to continue the discussion and really to talk about maybe sharing some small successes in your language, for your language broadly as a people or personally in your language journey. Also share things like what's the state of your language from when you're born till now. You know, some have declined and some have greatly increased. And in your nation and amongst your people, what's the most important next step to revitalize and renormalize your language? So these are some of the discussion questions that we'll be having as we jump into our various rooms. So with that, mahalo, mahalo, mahalo. Much gratitude once again to our panelists and our team, our Zoom gods. Please send us to our rooms.
Aye. I missed the instruction. What's the instruction in the breakout rooms?
You can choose the room, or if you have rename yourself to English, Russian, or Spanish, I can assign you directly.
Okay. Could you assign me it directly, please?
And the rest of the people that are here, you can either join the room that you'd like to be in, or if you let me know which one, I can assign you.
Should
rooms are
interpreters be sent to their breakout rooms, or they will pause interpretation for a moment?
I think they'll pause because presumably all the people in that room are going to be speaking the same language. So the rooms are grouped in by language. So you have English, Spanish, and Russian.
Okay. Thank you.
Excuse me, can I be moved to an English group, please?
Yes.
Thank you so much.
I don't see you in the list. Are you able to join it by clicking on the group?
No, I don't see a group. When I put breakout rooms, I only see like a list.
Okay, I think
Okay.
there you go. Does anybody else need to be assigned to a group? Leanna, I'll move you over. Is there anybody still here that needs to be assigned to a group?